Here we are going to find the limit of this expression using either factorization or L'Hopital's principle. I'm going to make two separate videos, the first one being on L'Hopital's rule. The second one will be on by factorization. I'll put the link in the description. So let's start. So the first thing I always do is I try to substitute this guy here, there, and there. Right. I can see that if I substitute infinity here, I'm getting the denominator of infinity. If I substitute infinity here and there, I'm always going to end up with a negative number that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So in this case, I have negative infinity over positive infinity, which is basically the indeterminate form of infinity over infinity. So that given, I can basically apply L'Hopital's rule. Right. So L'Hopital's rule says if I have the indeterminate form, I'll say L'Hopital's rule. Right. So I can basically perform the derivative of the numerator and the derivative of the denominator. So I'm going to rewrite my limit in such a way that it's very easy to differentiate. We know that the square root can be written in this form. So x squared minus 1 to the power of half, then minus 4x all over 6x. All right. And then now I can apply L'Hopital's rule. So here let's have our equal sign. Okay. So now I have limit as x approaches infinity. And then here I can apply chain rule basically. I'm going to firstly multiply this number by that number there and perform the derivative of the inside and do the product. So I'm going to end up with half x squared minus 1. And then half minus 1 is basically negative half. So I'm going to have to the power of negative half there. But don't forget to multiply by the derivative of the inside. The derivative of x squared is 2x. The derivative of minus 1 is 0. So we basically just have 2x there. Then the derivative of minus 4x is minus 4. This will be all over 6 because the derivative of 6x is just 6. And then from there, we are going to have this. Let's see now. Let's try to see if we can simplify this. So this guy here, the 2, and this one will cancel because this one is on top and this one is at the bottom. So and then the 1 and the x will multiply. So I have limit as x approaches infinity. And then I'm going to have x squared minus 1. And then remember 1 times x will be x here, right? And then from here, let's see what we're going to have. To the power negative half minus 4 all over 6. Now I'm going to take this to the bottom to make the denominator a positive. But remember, this is just a square root, right? If I take it at the bottom, it will just be a square root. So I have this. Let's see. I have, let's get our pen. Awesome. So I have limit as x approaches infinity. Here I'm going to basically have x all over square root of x squared minus 1. Right, because basically this part here, x squared minus 1 to the power of negative half can be written as 1 over x squared minus 1 to the power of half. But this is basically just a square root. Okay, that's how I got this part here. And the x remained on top. And then I have minus 4 all over 6. Now, after this, because at the bottom we do not have a variable, so we cannot differentiate further, because we're going to end up with a 0 denominator, which is not going to be possible. So here it means I can substitute my infinity, right? Here we need to be smart. Check here. This, right, and square root of x squared, just if you consider the square root of the x squared, they are basically very the same, because x over square root of x squared, I'm going to just not consider 1 minus 1 for now. Ne? So this will be x over x, which is equals to 1, right? Perfect. So now, if we are considering that fact, we can conclude that as we get bigger and bigger and bigger, the effect of minus 1 won't be that much, right? So which means as we get bigger and bigger and bigger, we are just approaching x over square root of x squared, because the minus 1's effect becomes minute as we get bigger and bigger and bigger. So which means this part here, if I were to substitute the infinity sign to show that we are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I'm going to end up with 1, right? And then we have minus 4 all over 6. And this gives us minus 3 all over 6, which gives us minus 1 over 2. And that is the answer of the limit above. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. A luta continua. Tango.